Welcome everyone to this episode of AtariCade 5200, where today we're going to be talking about Gyruss. As always, I have my co-host with me, Mr. Matt Daly, journalist extraordinaire.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
And Mr. Michael D'Angelo.
Hey, hi guys, how you doing?
Oh, doing pretty good, man. You've been playing a lot of Gyruss?
Good.
Sure have.
I'm all Gyrussed out.
Yes.
Yeah, my hand is killing me.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Get to that. Anyway,
Yes.
Let's start off with the arcade game itself. Now, this came out in the early 80s, around 1983 or so. And it was designed by Yoshiki Akamoto, which this was his last game for this company before he moved over to Capcom. I think he also did Time Pilot as well, which is a really awesome game.
That's another.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's another awesome game. I love that one.
Anyway, back to Gyruss. One of the things I really liked about the arcade game was its use of sound. It has a really cool 2-channel amplified stereo sound system in the cabinet. You've actually got to hear this in the arcade to really appreciate how well the sound is on this game. The music is just phenomenal when you're playing this game. That's one of the things I really like about the arcade game. One of the things I like about Gyruss in general is it's basically a love child of Galaga and Tempest. Two of my favorite arcade games in one. You like the Reese Cup? Got your peanut butter and my chocolate and my peanut butter. Well, you got your Galaga and my Tempest, and your Tempest and my Galaga. So you got Gyruss. Great game. One of those great tube shooting games that I really enjoy. What do you guys think about the arcade version of Gyruss?
Well, I can tell you, I actually first played it when I went to, was on a Disney World vacation with my family. I remember the hotel that we stayed at had a little game room. Like I think every hotel in the early 80s had one, you know.
Yes.
This is when arcade games were much more popular than they are now, but they had it. They had one. That was the first time I'd ever seen it. And you're right about the sound. It was the music in it that got me wanting to play it so much, because it just thundered out of the speakers. Like it's a classical piece of music, right? Isn't it like toccata and
Yes.
fugue in D minor or something like
J.S.
that?
Bach.
I don't know much about that stuff.
J.S. Bach, toccata, and fugue in D minor.
But it's all like electronic sounding, like kind of techno sounding almost.
Yeah.
It's just fabulous, and it really pumps you up playing the game. And I loved it. Like and the Tempest and Galaga crossover is exactly the right description for it. And I was hooked on it right away. But it's funny because when we're at Disney World, and that, you know, it's a great place to take a vacation. But one of the most memorable things about it for me was playing Gyruss for the first time.
Well, that's cool. That's your first time playing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I played it back in '83 at my local arcade, and the last time I played it was at Crabtown, USA, up towards Baltimore, up in that area, where I actually set the high score on that machine. I was there with Ferg from the 2600 Game by Game podcast. And
Nice.
Playing the arcade version on MAME, I could see why I probably got the high score. The operator probably had the thing set on easy. There's dip switches you can set to make the game really hard, which forget it, or you make it really easy.
Yeah.
So that's probably why I got the high score up there.
I could tell you, I was at a Game Vault in Morristown, New Jersey on Friday night, and they had a Gyruss machine. I could tell you it was not on the easy setting.
No.
Oh man, I had a hell of a time with it. The machine was in great condition, but I got to tell you, they did not have the music on the game loud enough.
Oh.
I was very disappointed. It's like, that's fine. I mean, obviously I wanted to play it for this podcast, but also I wanted to hear that true arcade sound, and unfortunately, it just wasn't loud enough.
Well, they probably have it turned down. That's too bad, because man, this thing really rocks when this thing is moving, man.
I don't remember too many games around that time having music in them. You know, maybe something quick at the title screen or something like that, but not
this.
throughout the game.
No.
Yeah.
And, you know, I like the concept of the arcade game where you're warping to the different planets in the solar system trying to get to planet Earth. That's a cool transition between the different levels. The challenge stages, which are kind of like, you know, Galaga, where you're trying to shoot the critters coming on the screen and stuff. That adds a lot to the game too. This is one of those games I could play for quite a while. Not lately because I'm all Gyrussed out right now. But anytime I see this in an arcade or run across it, I usually will play the crazy thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too.
Of course, as you get to the upper levels, you start having like these meteorites being thrown at you, which I don't care for, and the little laser barrage thing that comes out.
Oh, that little laser field
laser
thing
gate
that
or
goes
something
between
like that.
two enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good gate. Yeah, those are a pain.
The game's hard enough for me without that stuff in there. I have a hard time. When you get to the upper levels, they start dive bombing you when they come on the screen. That's what gets me every time.
Yes, me too.
But then Parker Brothers poured this little bad boy over to our beloved 5200. And I got to say, it's actually a fairly decent port. Graphically, it could have been just a little bit better, I think. But the gameplay is there. And it is freaking hard. You probably saw the little video I did. I played the game for like 3 hours. That was the best score I could get. That thing was pathetic.
How does your thumb feel after that?
I have a thumb. I don't feel my thumb anymore. It's got a big red blister on it.
I had to keep switching hands.
Yeah, it is brutal. I wish there was an auto fire option, but it was brutal on my thumb. Trying to play this game, and I had a little bit of trouble with the analog controller too. What I would try to do is I would try to spin it around to the outside, like you would for Tempest or something, instead of doing right and left like I normally would do, like you do in the arcade. That seemed to work okay for me. What do you guys think about the 5200 ported Gyruss?
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Michael. I thought the graphics were pretty good, pretty accurate. A little muddy. I feel like that you really couldn't tell the difference between the different enemy types. In the arcade, they stand out from each other a little bit more, but I guess with the lower screen resolution, you can't quite get that difference. But I was impressed that they put the music in. I think they did a pretty good job on that. But it's the controller that kills it for me in this one. I usually, the 5200 controller doesn't bother me as much as it seems to bother most people. But man, on this one, you have to use a digital controller. It's just impossible otherwise, I think, because it's the fire buttons.
Oof.
That they're so soft and you just rapidly hitting them over and over and over again, which you have to do in this game.
Yep.
You can't ever stop firing in this game. It's just going to wear you out.
And it definitely did me. I got to the point where I said, okay, enough of this. I'm going to plug in my Master Play clone, and I got my Epix 500XJ joystick that has the auto fire switch on it. And nice. I played it with that. And let me tell you, I got a whole lot farther in the game.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I used the Master Play clone. I have the Epix 500, but I don't have the auto fire.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Which that would have been very helpful.
Oh yeah.
I honestly I don't know if it's age, but my hand got fatigued very quickly in this.
Age.
Very quickly. And I as I said, I kept switching hands.
Well, you have to.
Yeah, I don't know how we did that when we were kids. When I was a kid, that was never an issue, right?
Yeah, it seems like when you're younger playing these games, you really don't think about that until you get older. I think this because we're just worn out, man. That's what it is. It's just all worn out.
But I thought
I
thought the 5200. I thought the gameplay was there. I think it was, in terms of gameplay, it was great. I was a bit disappointed in the graphics. They were very blocky. My biggest problem is the star field became very distracting.
Yes.
And sometimes I couldn't tell if it was a star or a missile coming at me. That got me a lot of times.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Everything kind of blended together. Everything's one color for the most part. I think the enemies were one color.
Yes, they are.
Yep.
But again, it's a very fun game, and the gameplay. I mean, as I said, I played it Friday at the arcade, and I wasn't. Other than the graphics, I wasn't disappointed with the 5200 version at all.
Oh, it plays really nice. They got the meteorite in there. They've got the little laser thing goes between the two ships coming at you. They've got the elements of the game in there, and you can actually warp all the way to Earth, just like in the arcade. And they got the little planets in there, which are they're not as good looking as they are in the arcade, but you get the idea. Of course, we have to say this: the funniest planet to fly to is Uranus. We got to say that. And of course, when you see the planet of Uranus on the screen, it's got the vertical line right through the middle. So it already looks like, had to get that out of the way. We knew someone was going to say, one of us was going to say that. We'll blame Rick since he's not here. So what happens, Rick? We don't show up. You get blamed for stuff.
Now, Matt, did you make it to Earth?
I never did.
I almost did.
I can get to Mars. I think that's the last planet before Earth if they followed the actual solar system map. But man, it gets crazy. Like there's hardly any free space on the screen. It's just all either missiles or enemies or rocks or something. And I cannot do it. I was definitely throwing some choice words at my TV screen at that point.
Tell Michael what your score was.
I got 228,250.
Oh, I hate you so much.
Nice.
I did use a Master Play adapter and a Sega Genesis pad to get that. My score with the actual CX52 was much lower.
Well,
yeah, I got 168,900. Stage 18. I was one warp from Mars, and that was my best game. But I used a Master Play with an Epix controller.
Man, well, I used my Epix 500 XJ with autofire, and I got like to 150. 150 some thousand. I suck at video games.
150? What? 150,000?
150 some odd thousand.
That's not bad.
Well, that was cheating though.
Yeah.
I was using the Master Play, the auto fire, using the actual 5200 controller. I got like 20,000 points.
Oh yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah, me too. It's awful.
That was after 3 hours of playing the game, man.
It's just awful.
My thumbs with it.
And it's the joystick too, because it really only sees it as being an 8-direction controller.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't use the analog part of it at all. So it just sort of jumps around on me. Like I can't.
It's that little transition at the 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. It doesn't want to go through that. You hang up every once in a while, and that's what usually kills me because I stutter right there, trying to transition to the top and around to the bottom. This game would have been incredible with a spinner on it.
I'm kind of surprised it didn't go that route in the arcade. Like, did you all notice in the arcade cabinet? I think it recognizes it as being an 8-way joystick on that as well, except on the control panel they have it so the joystick will move cleanly all the way around in a circle. Yes. Like there's no sharp edges to it, and that really helps. But I am surprised it didn't put like a Tempest like spinner on it or something. I think that would have been really cool.
Yeah, I think it would have been really cool if they put a spinner on this game. Maybe because they didn't want the ship to be flying around really fast around. Because like on Tempest, if you whip that spinner, it goes bzzz, that ship will just flip around that screen. It may not want to do that, so they figure if they did a joystick, it would just limit the overall speed of the ship going around the tube to add another element of challenge to the game. That's what I theorize.
That could be true.
I have been drinking, so my theories go out the window.
So is this the port you guys played growing up, or?
Well, I didn't have a 5200 growing up. I had the Atari 800, and I did have Gyruss for it, and I played it quite a bit back then. That's basically pretty much the same game. I think graphically it may look a little bit better on the 5200, but it's a good game.
Yeah, I actually played it mostly on the Commodore 64.
Oh yeah,
and that was a pretty good port.
Oh yeah, of course
I need to try that one.
Yeah, the 64 version is a really good port of Gyruss. That's pretty cool. Of course, the NES version has a whole bunch of extra levels in it. You can fly clear to the sun on that crazy thing.
Yeah, that's the one I played mostly when I was growing up. Was the NES one? It is really good.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I like the extra stuff, but that didn't come out until like '89, so it's not really a fair comparison.
It's not. And we're not talking about the NES. We're talking about the 5200. So quit that, Matt.
Sorry. I always bring Nintendo into the mix, and they are not welcome here.
They're not welcome here. Oh, so you guys have this cartridge in your collection?
I do, yes.
Oh, you got the box?
Yeah.
I do not. I had to play on the flash cartridge. Whatever the
Well, we know who the real
multi-cart.
5200 nut is here then. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's actually a fairly rare cartridge for the 200. AtariCade rated it as scarce, a number 4. So you don't see them very often out there, especially with the box. The Parker Brothers boxes are basically just plain-looking boxes to me. They're not really anything special about them.
No, I
They're just
agree.
kind of plain-looking.
The box art on this one isn't fantastic
No.
either. I don't think, anyways.
No. So, what game would you guys like to talk about next time?
That's a good question.
How about kicks?
Oh,
Kicks? Wait a minute.
I could.
There's kicks on the 5200?
Yeah.
Oh, Quicks!
Oh, yeah.
Quicks!
Quicks,
Kicks.
Quicks,
It's
Quicks.
pronounced kicks. I'm sorry. I told you. I've been drinking. Okay, yeah. Oh, man, that's a good game. I love Quicks.
It's a really good port too.
Yes,
Oh.
it is.
Okay, so on the next one, we'll talk about kicks. Awesome.